If you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description.
Welcome to Mindshock True Crime. This is the MAURA Murray series, episode 55, the UMASS 3. This is, of course, going to focus on the three individuals, the three males at the Saturday night party, which may or may not have occurred on campus at UMass. The history of this so-called voicemail that Bill Rausch listened to, and if this caused this spiral and descent into a frenzy of phone calls that Bill Rausch made, of course, that nobody wants to talk about. And plenty more regarding this issue and other issues at UMass, which of course I've gone over in the previous episodes, particularly the Silent UMass episodes. If you haven't checked those out, make sure you check those out. Make sure you check out the Persons of Interest episodes as well. I went over all of these individuals at UMass prior, but with the new information available, we are going to trace back and attempt to connect as many dots as possible at UMass, because of course, we don't even know if MAURA Murray ever left UMass or the UMass area or the state of Massachusetts to even make it up to New Hampshire. And plenty a narrative steered in that direction. But we will examine why, and if there's more than meets the eye, and this mountain of coincidences is simply that, as the coincidence theorists would have everybody believe, or if there's something more to it, something more sinister at play, something that lines up with FBI statistics, which is, of course, whenever a female goes missing of foul play, it is usually the significant other, the boyfriend, husband, or ex-boyfriend, or someone she knows, friend, acquaintance, co-worker, someone who knows her, someone she's familiar with. These are FBI statistics no matter how hard the steerers, obfuscators, and Dunning-Kruger crowd that seem to hover around this case online unlike any other, despite their pretending and best efforts to dismiss and strawman their way out of all these coincidences, the FBI statistics remain true. As always, if you enjoy the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Make sure you allow your device to have those notifications come through. If you like the podcast, hit that like button, share it across social media platforms. Keep up the awareness, keep up the momentum. A lot of new information coming out in the case, and for the first time in a long time, it seems like it's actually possible to solve this case. And we have to thank the steers for that, because wherever they don't want investigation to occur, that seems to be the place to investigate. So that could lead to this case getting solved. So thank you to all the steers out there. Questions, comments, thoughts, theories, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings, leave them in the comment section. And you can find us on Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case and topic requests, co-podcaster requests, logical analyses requests, and have your questions answered as top priority. Alright, so let's jump in here. A lot of this new information, of course, comes from Mr. James Renner. Viciously attacked by the steerers online, that should tell you something, but vindicated at every turn. And he's about to be vindicated yet again, because we will trace this information for those that believe he made it up. So, this is coming from his blog, July 6, 2020. Bill Rausch found out MAURA was with another man by accessing her voicemails. In case you missed it, MAURA Murray's boyfriend, Billy Rausch, imploded on social media last night, attacking missing MAURA Murray podcasters and Maggie Freeling, the journalist from Oxygen's The Disappearance of MAURA Murray, putting them on blast until 5 a.m. Likely this is the sort of thing that will come out in court when he finally goes to trial for sex abuse in D.C. later this year. It's the unhinged, hyper-focused belittling that his mistress described accurately during her protection order hearing. As Billy brings more attention to himself, those close to the case have begun sharing more information they've been hesitant to share for years. One thing that's coming out is that Billy was allegedly able to access Maura Murray's voicemail and listen to a message from Kate Markopoulos to Maura. That revealed Maura had disappeared with another man over the weekend. Here's a quote. There was a message from Kate, and it says the story according to Bill with information from Kate is that Saturday, after they dropped off Fred, they were out together. The girls went out. Kate and Maura had some drinks. Kate is saying they met 3 new guys who do not go to UMass and were from out of the area. Apparently, they were all talking. Then at one point, Maura and one of the guys were gone. Bill asked Kate about this because one of Maura's voicemails was from Kate asking what was up with Bill and what happened with that guy the other night. It is not known at this time when or how Billy was able to access Maura's voicemail. In the past, Fred Murray has said that he heard from both Sarah Alfieri and Kate Markopoulos that there were 3 men at the party that night, and that one was Sarah's cousin. He was unable to find out their identities. Apparently, Maura was last seen that night walking away with one of those men. The next thing we know, she gets into the accident with her father's car. Now, something that hasn't been discussed is if Kate is... So, Kate obviously is either the good guy, the bad guy, or she has no clue what happened to Maura Murray. She might have a clue of what happened with other things on campus or whatnot, but for whatever reason, particularly, I've brought this up many times, if someone is involved in something, not even necessarily illegal, obviously illegal, but something possibly illicit or just shady that they don't want known, but not illegal or not illegal, it's irrelevant. If they don't want that known, they are going to cover that up. And if they're a witness or someone they know it becomes missing or whatnot, they're not necessarily going to want to shed light on their own activities that particular evening or in general if they want to stay low key. So that could explain certain individuals not really being public in the case. Obviously, if you haven't listened to the previous UMass episode, Silent UMass 6, check that out because unlike any other missing persons case, this extends far beyond Maura's circle of friends and or acquaintances and or co-workers. I mean, this extends to the upper levels of UMass. I mean, you don't even have the head of UMass PD, you don't have the art gallery people, you don't have Maura's nursing teachers, you don't have any of these people on the media trying to draw attention to the case, pleading for information on the case, hoping Maura comes home. You don't have any of this. It's complete silence. Complete silence. You don't see this in any other missing persons case. And that's something the steerers, the obfuscators, the Dunning-Kruger crowd that hovers around this case online, they just are either playing stupid or obviously steering. It's hard to believe that supposedly functioning adults can't even tell the difference between one case and another. I mean, really, really bizarre. Very, very bizarre. But regardless, if Kate was, let's say one theory, if Kate is responsible for whatever happened to Maura Murray, is she going to be setting things up a particular way to make it look like she wasn't? For example, staging this whole thing as a suicide. Are we looking at it through that lens? And if that's true, let's not fall for any black and white fallacies. The plot could have been hatched at any point from Saturday to Sunday to Monday. So we really don't know. So this is right before the Hadley accident. And of course, if this is all legitimate and it's not being used as a cover, obviously Maura walking away with some guy, that's, we're not going to fall for any compositional logical fallacies. Out of all the college parties, when a girl walks away with a guy, what percentage of the time does it mean that they had some kind of encounter? I don't know the answer to that question. It could be 50%, it could be 90%, but we know it's not 100%. So anybody who's been in college, anybody who knows college people, we know it's not 100%. So yeah, we really don't know what happened, and Kate here is asking what happened because she doesn't know either if she's being honest here. So, the update on the blog here, Julie Murray released a statement in this evening in which she confirms the information to be true. The information came via one of MAURA's friends. Julie goes on to claim that it was Sharon Roush, not Billy Roush, who managed to access MAURA's voicemail to get this information. It is unclear why nobody shared this info until now. Anybody know who this person was? Update statement from Billy Roush. Bottom line, we never had issues with voicemails, phone records, etc. during the search. My mother was the account holder, which is why she called Sprint for access to voicemails. We printed off the phone records at the police station because law enforcement were waiting on a subpoena. Update 2, further statement from Billy, there was no cheating voicemail. Bottom line, access to MAURA's voicemail was gained after and because she disappeared. We learned of the 3 men at the party after MAURA disappeared. Okay, sure he did. So if we believe all of that, I mean, maybe he did. It's just, it doesn't explain all the crazy phone activity. The calls to Kate Markopoulos's cell phone, the calls to Kate Markopoulos's dorm room, which of course Billy Roush will refuse to acknowledge in his clear obfuscation statements online, and you can see how the steers blindly defend him for anybody still thinking that there are no steers. Very bizarre. But anyway, this is all very, very interesting because can we trust Billy Roush? Does he have a track record of trust? Does this military officer trained in psychological operation to basically steer narratives and propaganda campaigns, can this individual be trusted? Should his words be taken on blind faith as gospel truth? Is it logical to do so? I will leave it up to the listeners to decide that. Some people also suggest, in regards to Sarah Alfieri, because it's her cousin. Again, I went over this in previous episodes, the details with these individuals, but what hasn't been quite theorized is, was Sarah even with Kate and MAURA? Because I've postulated this before. We have the Phillips Street address and all of the issues with that. But supposedly it was a party house. And this, of course, has affiliations with the Iranians in the community. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole this second. We've gone down that one many times before. And this particular Phillips Street address is supposedly where Helena Murray also tried to rent an apartment years later after MAURA's disappearance. Why is that? Were they trying to gain access to a particular apartment where they think the party might have been to see if there was any evidence still there many years later? Do they believe something happened in that apartment? Was MAURA attacked and did she flee that Phillips Street address in her father's Corolla? Because why would they even really need a vehicle if the party really was on campus? Unless, of course, Fred Murray was that drunk that he couldn't drive and she needed to drop him off and then go back to campus with Kate Markopoulos. But if that's not the case, who said the party was even at campus? Because we do have multiple statements we've gone over in the past where it's an off-campus party at an apartment off campus. Is this Phillips Street address? Which also happens to be next to other areas other houses that were supposedly rented by frat houses. Okay, if Sarah, now let's also not fall for black and white fallacies. Was there also a dorm room party, and then they're party hopping? They moved to the Phillips Street address. Did MAURA go to the Phillips Street address party with the other male without Sarah and Kate, or without Sarah but with Kate? Did Sarah really pass out in the UMASS dorm party? So she honestly doesn't know what happened after. And if Kate and MAURA went on to the Phillips Street address party, or elsewhere if it wasn't that address, or even elsewhere on campus, another dorm, and what happened there really is unknown to Sarah. But let's hypothesize this. Let's say Sarah's cousin assaulted MAURA or something happened. Would Sarah want that known? Would she protect her cousin? Obviously, that depends on the relationship she has with her cousin. If she just doesn't want to cause trouble, then that's that. Now, do any of these 3 men that supposedly don't go to UMass, but what are their connections to UMass? Are there friends? Are they friends with a certain police cadet, UMass police cadet? Is that possible? Are they friends with someone else at UMass Police who's friends with other people at Hadley PD or Amherst PD? We don't know any of this information. We don't know what lengths or how good friends these people are, how much dirt they have on each other. If there was some kind of cover up, and I'm not saying there was, again, the trolls, steerers, obfuscators, Dunning-Kruger crowd, they always like to get so triggered so fast they think I'm insinuating that this is true. The motto of the entire podcast is the only thing we know for sure, is that we don't know anything for sure. That goes for everything. I mean, the Greek myths have plenty to teach us about hubris. We don't know. I'm not saying it's true or untrue. I don't know. When you don't know something, you investigate, you ask questions. That's how honest investigation is done. Not sticking your head in the sand and pretending none of these coincidences or anomalies exist, and pretending all of this hearsay is indisputable fact and all of these humans are infallible, while hypocritically not having any faith in Faith Westman's statement of a man smoking a cigarette at the scene. So, obviously, fallible humans are fallible. So we can't trust any of these statements, but obviously, some of them could be true. Just because you don't trust it doesn't mean you think it's untrue. That means you can't verify whether it's true or not. So we don't know where this party occurred. Now, it does seem like Billy Roush can't be telling the truth about the voicemail and his mother accessing the voicemail because it doesn't explain his frenzy of phone calls specifically to Kate Markopoulos. However, if he was the one who accessed the voicemail earlier, then that explains everything. So does Billy Roush have a track record of being a control freak? I mean, her cell phone plan was on his family's plan. So, I mean, what are the chances that Bill Roush, is he a controlling type individual that would have access to her voicemail, that would know her passwords or PIN codes and all those things? People chiming in basically say that this is common activity for teens and college kids during that time period where insecure boyfriends and girlfriends would try to get into their boyfriend or girlfriend's cell, voicemail, access their voicemail, guess their password, whatever. It's all common activity. It doesn't really seem, I don't want to say unusual. Obviously, it's kind of shady. They're not trusting partners if that's what they're doing. But to say that it's not commonplace or an impossibility would be quite silly, just knowing what we know about human nature, human psychology, and just thinking back to either when you yourself were back in college, if you're not currently in college, or if you're older, just that time period of the early to mid 2000s when this was occurring. Here's an interesting post from a user on Renner's blog, which is quite interesting. It's this, very interesting. I remember when the phone records were released, there was debate over a call Bill made, either the day she went missing or shortly after. I have the log saved on my broken computer, which until it's fixed is inaccessible, so I cannot reference the exact call number at the moment. On the old form. Obviously, Maura did not answer, but the call was over a minute long, perhaps several. Much longer than it would take to phone someone and hang up after getting voicemail or leaving a message. My first thought was, I wonder if he knows her password and is listening to her voicemail or trying to guess her password. I was thinking back to my relationship in my late teens, early 20s, and how when things were tumultuous and my partner was answering, I don't know if they mean not answering, I would sneak and play with their voicemail without them knowing. I had watched them type it in once and it was easy to remember. This is how I too found out I was being cheated on. I noticed on Reddit Bill is dangling the Kate bait, asking if they would like to hear from her, and obviously there are influx of yes, of course, make it happen, Bill replies. Then he responds with, unfortunately, I don't think I can convince her unless Renner moves on to another case. I'm so sick of seeing his blatant manipulative tactics and wordsmithing designed to get people riled up and go after you, James Renner. It's so transparent, in my humble opinion. He finds a way to insert you in some way in a large amount of his comments there. Very strange, since he is always accusing you of being the obsessed one. And that's quite interesting, too. It's really, really strange. Obviously, there's so many people on the controlled subreddit where it's just mostly obfuscators, trolls, Dunning-Kruger crowd with multiple accounts all backing each other up, making it look like there's a common sentiment. And they do hoodwink a certain percentage of individuals interested in the MAURA case and want to discuss it online. And some of these individuals are very good-hearted, honest individuals, but they're hoodwinked by these people. And Billy Rausch's clear military training in psychological operations and propaganda is evident. Like, why he really thinks nobody wants to hear from Kate Markopoulos. I mean, just even asking the question is very silly, and you can see how he's designing and orchestrating the conversation. He basically, all of his comments are basically saying nothing at all. And his tweets, everything, it's quite interesting the way he speaks. He pretends he's answering questions so that other people, again, the trolls, obfuscators, or possibly just hoodwinked Dunning-Kruger sufferers, they back him up and say, oh yeah, he's active, he's answering questions. He doesn't really give straight answers to anything. And it's very, very obvious for those using logic and reason. For those not familiar with logic and reason, I guess it's not obvious to them. But yeah, it's very, 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 very weird stuff. Also, when you factor in all the puzzle pieces, it's interesting how the steerers, obfuscators, they don't want anybody looking at UMASS. They don't want any focus there. As you can even have theories about MAURA being abducted by aliens or Bigfoot. That's all okay, as long as it's accepted that she made it to the resting place of the Saturn beyond the weathered barn corner in North Haverhill. As long as you believe that, the steerers are okay with you thinking anything. UFOs, Bigfoot, whatever. As long as you believe, as long as you take on faith, on blind faith, the words of fallible humans, and as long as you accept the official narrative that she made it up there, then it's all good. Investigate everything. Just so obvious, so obvious. Some people think it's a waste of time to keep referencing the steers, but I think so much can be gleaned from looking at where they don't want to look at and looking at the precise triggers that sets them off, that sets off their projection, their cognitive dissonance, and their emotional temper tantrums like 4-year-olds online. Whatever sets that off, that's what needs to be looked at. Now, I don't know the reasons why there even are online steers in this case, because you don't see this in other cases. But to pretend that's all coincidence, I think that would be an oversight, especially in this type of case. Now, if Billy found this out, and there's this flurry of phone calls, all this information, he's on the phone with his mentor at the exact time MAURA is alleged to have gone missing, all mere coincidence, of course, then the McDonald's and his own parents just go out to look for her before Fred or Julie Murray. I mean, some people think it's a nothing to see here situation, but it's just mind-shocking, mind-boggling. So, is that enough if it was merely cheating, or is it something more? I don't know. I mean, obviously, merely cheating in their lives, especially at that time, cheating is probably, I mean, that would definitely rock their world quite substantially. I don't mean to downplay it. It's just with all the upper agency involvement that the steerers pretend doesn't exist, from DEA activity in the area, U.S. Marshal interest in the area, FBI at UMass. I mean, the West Point connections, the fact that Thursday night there was an announcement of investigations into military abuse and things of that nature. And obviously some of it had taken place at West Point, taken place in a lot of places. Does it have something to do with that? And let's say MAURA knew something about Bill, or even Bob McDonald. If MAURA knew something about Bob McDonald, would that be enough to set off these kind of reactions? Because if MAURA's cheated, now Bill no longer has her under his thumb. And if Bill knows about the issue with McDonald, and again, I'm not laying any blame on McDonald. He might be the nicest guy in the world. I have no clue. It's just we're theorizing what could have set off that kind of reaction. I don't know. Is it something more than just, in the grand scheme of things, how many people get cheated on in college? Again, to those people in that moment, it's the biggest thing in the world, no question. But would it be enough to get all these upper agencies involved? I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't have the answers. I'm asking the questions. So let's trace this information. Actually, before we get to that, all right, let's go to Maggie Freeling posted this regarding the Murray family statement. Okay, so the Murray family issued this statement on their website, MauraMurrayMissing.org, July 8th, 2020. Information withheld from Murray family used to distort the case. In 2017, MAURA was featured in a six-part series on the Oxygen Network. While the decision to feature James Renner gave us pause, we were hopeful the new attention would help us find answers. After the show aired, we requested transcripts and information from the show. Host Maggie Freeling and producer David Karabinas declined our request, citing legal reasons. On July 6th, Renner posted a select portion of notes we understand to be from the series to incorrectly report salacious and misleading information about our missing sister, while failing to highlight information about 3 men who were among the last to see MAURA. We've heard from the source of the information, a close friend of MAURA who wishes to remain anonymous. They did not grant Renner permission to view or publish her comments. After reviewing a complete set of notes, it is clear his comments about MAURA's personal life were cherry-picked and then manipulated with the clear intention of steering the narrative in a direction that is not productive in our effort to find MAURA. That's kind of weird. See, I'm gonna take a minute here before I finish the rest of the statement. How would the Murray family know what would or wouldn't be productive in finding MAURA if they don't know what happened to MAURA? If she was attacked by a party, if she stumbled across some kind of CI situation, if she wasn't a CI herself, if these individuals were involved with something shady at UMass, this is exactly what would be productive in finding MAURA. So, again, I'm not sure if the Murray family got hoodwinked by certain individuals at a certain point where they were led to believe that it was definitively MAURA at the staged accident scene in North Haverhill. And if that's information that has not been released to the public, that's interesting. Because if they somehow definitively know it was MAURA, because of course the Westmans, we're talking about a man smoking a cigarette on scene, Butch Atwood transcript, he hit a pine tree. So there's information that there's a male on the scene. Now, was it a male and a female? And if it was the female MAURA Murray? But regardless, it seems like if they're not operating with information that the public doesn't have, it seems quite silly to think that it's 100% verified. If, again, just comparing to other cases, I mean, when a person goes missing, there's quite often their car is staged somewhere to either buy time or maybe make it look like they committed suicide. I mean, this is nothing new. Obviously, the steers, obfuscators, and the Dunning-Kruger crowd are pretending that this is an impossibility in the MAURA Murray case, or it's possible to tell what's more or less likely from the very, very few actual facts that we have in this case. So, yeah, I really don't know why the Murray family statement is written like this. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Let me finish reading it. The truth is that the week MAURA disappeared, Sharon Roush contacted Sprint to gain access to MAURA's voicemail in order to assist law enforcement and our family with the ongoing search. It was because of this effort that our father reached out to MAURA's college friend and learned of the existence of 3 men MAURA was introduced to on the Saturday night before she disappeared. According to Assistant Attorney General Jeff Strelzin, her disappearance is being treated as a criminal investigation and no one has been cleared, stating, quote, "It's difficult to rule anyone out until you know what happened," end quote. To date, the identity of these men and any potential connection they may have had to MAURA's disappearance remains unknown. The Murray family is thankful to MAURA's friends who brought this to our attention and provided the original documents that were denied to our family but provided to Renner. Future attempts to disrupt the investigation will be addressed directly by the Murray family. So this is kind of weird. Disrupt the investigation or bring more attention and awareness to the investigation to shed light in areas where the steers and the obfuscators do not want light shed. It's all very strange. It's almost like there are these artificial divides created by the steers between groups, in this case, the family, law enforcement, Renner. How do they know Renner got this from Oxygen? And why is Oxygen denying the family information? That's also kind of strange, isn't it? Because for the people that think the Oxygen series was legitimate in any way, instead of just a hit piece on John Smith and the police conspiracy angle. And of course, there was really nothing done at UMass. For people that think it was actually legitimate and completely above board, it's really, really bizarre. I mean, they're going to release the ATM footage to Maggie Freeling for the Oxygen show after they denied it to the family for over a decade. Again, just compare and contrast to other missing persons cases. I mean, this is Anomaly City. This is Coincidence City. So let's look at Maggie Freeling's statement regarding the family statement. So she posted this on Reddit. Hi all, just to jump in as this was just brought to my attention, some things being alleged are wildly inaccurate. Nothing was provided to Renner. Yes, legally material is owned by Oxygen. I can discuss findings freely. I worked for 2 years on the investigation. That is my work. I can speak about it. I told Julie when she asked for the transcripts, no, I cannot share, but I am happy to look for what she is asking for and relay information. Producers told her this as well. Despite what one may think, I don't sit around sifting through 300 hours of transcripts every day. I was there doing the interviews. I know what's in them. When a question is asked, I answer. A question was recently asked. I looked and I answered. No one has any transcript but myself, Art, Texas Crew, Oxygen, New Hampshire State Police, and 2 or 3 that were FOIA'd. Do I agree with the decision to not release information to the family? No. Is that my decision? No. Take it up with NBC, not the little guy bound by law. That has always been the case and will always be the case. That said, wow, if there were 3 guys who were the last seen with her that no one knows the identity of, that would be a bombshell. And the documentary surely would have been much better. Less psychic, more investigating. However, when we stumbled upon this, we checked with New Hampshire State Police if they had tracked these guys from the party down, and their answer was yes. They interviewed all of them. The one MAURA was with was from Boston. That is all we know. The documentary crew know. Of course, New Hampshire did not release the names to us to look for them, as New Hampshire State Police, according to Art, did not believe they were involved. So we continue pursuing other information in a doc that was meant to bring national awareness to her case and bring many of you here and to other platforms to discuss more. I will also say the quote Renner posted is accurate. However, he chose to cherry pick what was in it. What was in it is on him. Art is looking for the original documents the information came from. We know which it is and are trying to see if we still have it. We've been looking for a week at this point. Wow, U.S. Marshal Art Roderick and this so-called professional journalist, it takes them a week to find a document. They're still looking over a week? I don't know what to make of that statement. That's pretty bizarre. Wow, okay. I told Julie last night I am happy to tell her more about the document and the information in it again and what was reported in the transcript. I think that's all. I'm going back to work now. I do not check Reddit, but message on Twitter if you have a legitimate question. The family always had my number and email and could ask for information at any time. I hope this clears up any wild speculation because this might be some of the wildest in a while. So the most apt response to this on Reddit was this: meaningful new information in no particular order. 1, Maggie Oxygen are under the impression that New Hampshire State Police interviewed and dismissed all of the 3 guys. And we, of course, know that New Hampshire State Police is completely infallible. The official Murray statement on July 8th indicated that, quote, to date, the identity of these men and any potential connection they may have had to Maura's disappearance remains unknown, end quote. This conflict seems like a major issue that needs to be addressed. And that's, of course, believing them. Because if they do know the identity of the people, I mean, we don't really know any of this information. 2, Sharon, Bill, and or law enforcement were able to access Maura's voicemails. Unknown if any other voicemails provided new information aside from these 3 new guys and Maura's time spent with one of them. And of course, these have all been rumored for quite some time, so I don't really know why this is being viewed as new, but anyway. 3, Maura spent some time alone with a male from Boston that was not her soon-to-be fiancé, Bill. It is unknown what impact that interaction may have had on Maura's frame of mind. Someone else responded, when the Murrays say remains unknown, in the context of everything else, it seems like they aren't saying it remains unknown to the police, it's that it remains unknown to them. Obviously, I'm seriously empathetic to the family's situation, but the statement introduces some of the complexity and confusion needlessly, in my honest opinion. Okay, very fair points. What's another curiosity? This guy's from Boston. Maura Murray's Saturn was spotted in Boston. So that, again, leads to question whether or not that really was the first time Maura had met this guy from Boston. I mean, again, what are we taking on blind faith here? I don't really do faith or religion. I'm more into logic and actual science, what can and can't be definitively proven. Otherwise, you're just pretending assumptions are facts. If you're building theories on assumptions, you build them high enough, you might end up believing Maura Murray was definitively at the staged Saturn scene beyond the Weather Barn Corner in North Haverhill. And I mean, some of the silliest things, like her stuff was found in her car, therefore she was at the scene. In every single staged vehicle in a missing persons case, their stuff was in the car. I mean, that kind of silly nonsense is why this online obfuscation, steering, or just plain attraction of the Dunning-Kruger crowd that we don't see in other cases is just running so rampant. Is it doing more harm than good? I don't know. If it's bringing attention to the case, and if they're really obvious about what they don't want discussed or what they think is illegitimate, that's where all the investigation needs to go. So was the Saturn even on campus that weekend? If the and again, the Saturn isn't necessarily necessary for the Patrice Vassie hit and run. If Kate Markopoulos have her own vehicle? Did she borrow someone else's vehicle? If she was responsible for the Patrice Vassie hit and run, how does that change everything? Was she with someone else during the Patrice Vassie hit and run? Is this someone else, this male from the party? We don't know. What we do know is that FBI statistics state that when a female goes missing and was harmed, it was by someone she knew. That much we know. That would make it the most likely scenario for people who want to get into probabilities. Obviously, any kind of critical thinking, deductive reasoning, that's all off limits to the steerers, obfuscators, and Dunning-Kruger crowd. But very, very important issue. So now what everybody's probably come here for, the Mindshock, the big Mindshock. How new is this information? So a very astute online researcher has found this article published February 21st, 2004. Just a few weeks after the disappearance. Father of missing woman frustrated with search by Kate McCann, Associated Press writer. Concord, New Hampshire. The father of a missing Massachusetts woman said he wants police to start treating the search like a criminal investigation. Since 21-year-old Maura Murray vanished after a car accident in northern New Hampshire 2 weeks ago, police have repeatedly said they do not suspect foul play. Searchers found no signs of a struggle at the scene, and it appears Murray was planning a getaway. She lied to professors about a death in the family, that's if she was the one who sent that email, and said she would be gone from class for the week, then packed her belongings as if she was moving out, unless she didn't unpack yet from coming back to college again. New Hampshire investigators have been working with Massachusetts law enforcement, including campus police, at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, where Murray is a nursing student. Police said it appears she was leaving Massachusetts. Once again, did someone make it appear that way? Without telling anyone, and wanted to get away on her own, and she may not know about the search if she's not in New England. It's a very interesting picture being painted by this article, is it not? But her family is starting to suspect otherwise. Her father, Frederick Murray, believes his daughter was given a ride from a person who won't come forward since he helped her leave the scene of an accident, or a person who gave her a ride and then abducted her. To take a break or start a new life, she would need money, Murray said in a telephone interview. She hasn't used her ATM card, and she hasn't used her cell phone. She hasn't spent a dime. So another thing interesting of note, James Renner is not involved in the case at this point. So let me again read Fred Murray's statement from February 21st, 2004. To take a break or start a new life, she would need money. Start a new life. Who is the first person who peddled that? Now, of course, the police framed the suicide type angle. So Fred Murray, of course, would have certain information in his head from what law enforcement steered from the very beginning. So I'm not saying he thought that himself without any influence from law enforcement, but again, the people trying to blame everything on James Renner, it's not him who started these theories. Okay, anyway, searches, including a renewed search Thursday with dogs and a helicopter in northern New Hampshire, turned up no sign that the woman wandered into snow-covered woods. Police called off the ground search in that area. Fred Murray said he is afraid the search is slowly grinding to a halt. We should think of it in terms of a criminal investigation, Murray said. It sounds like it would be the key to expanding it. Let's grab the bull by the horns and call it foul play. Vermont State Police, Burlington Police, and other local agencies are combing area motels on Saturday after a check of Murray's computer found she had looked up directions to Burlington the day she disappeared. Unless it was someone else using her computer. Still nothing, South Burlington Police Sergeant James Snyder said of the search on Saturday. We've already given out flyers and we've checked the hotels. All the hotels are full this weekend because we have Mardi Gras. All of the hotels are aware of it. Police and family members are also trying to gauge the significance of a phone call that reduced Murray to tears while working her campus job at UMass Amherst on February 5th. She was so disturbed by the call, her supervisor had to take her home. And here we come to the Mindshock. Police are also investigating a message on MAURA's phone from a friend she talked to the day before she disappeared. Authorities say Murray withdrew $280 from an ATM on February 9th. Around 7 o'clock that evening, she crashed her car into a snowbank several miles from the Vermont border. Again, that's the official narrative if it was her driving. A witness who told police Murray appeared intoxicated by it but uninjured, so this, I guess they're talking about Butch here, and this statement was changed many times, so called authorities against Murray's wishes. By the time emergency workers arrived, Murray had gone, leaving most of her belongings in the car. Murray's father and his 33-year-old son were searching along the Kangamangas Highway in northern New Hampshire on Saturday, where the family goes camping every summer. Time's running out. Somebody must have seen something somewhere, Frederick Murray said. One tip from anybody, you could be the person who saves this girl's life. And that's actually quite tragic reading that quote from 2004, because this case could have gone a lot different, obviously. An award fund for any information about Murray is now more than $20,000. Sharon Roush, the mother of MAURA's boyfriend, said Duke University basketball coach Mike Krzyzewski has donated an undisclosed amount to the fund. Roush said the coach met MAURA at Madison Square Garden over the holidays. Krzyzewski's daughter is friends with MAURA and her boyfriend, Army Lieutenant Bill Roush. Is there more to that story regarding this Duke University basketball coach? I'll be getting to some of those connections in a future episode. It's all quite bizarre, just, again, comparing this missing persons case to other missing persons cases. But it seems information about this voicemail left on MAURA's phone from a friend she talked to the day before she disappeared. That's very, very interesting. This information is from February 21st, 2004. I don't know what to make of that. It's all quite bizarre. But police seem to have known about it. So if Bill Roush knew about it, Sharon Roush knew about it at some point. They told the family that it was Sharon, but how would they know? How much is being taken on blind faith, and how much of this faith in the fallible words of fallible humans derailing the investigation and preventing this case from being solved? I mean, that's a question everybody must ask. Hope you guys enjoyed another edition of Mindshock True Crime. If you like the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. If you like the podcast, hit the like button. Share it across social media platforms. Keep the awareness up. Keep the momentum going. Questions, comments, thoughts, theories, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings, leave them in the comments section. You could check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic co-podcaster requests.
This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.